shock kill us all. The girl dies.
She's still our friend. She's not Jean anymore.
Are you threatening me?
That's right.
That would be a bad idea.
Hey everybody, it's Chris Bumry here again for JoBlo.com with a video review of X-Men Dark Phoenix, the supposedly final chapter in the X-Men saga. In this one, Jean Grey, as played by Game of Thrones' Sophie Turner, develops incredible powers after surviving a near-fatal mission in space. With her new abilities hard to control, members of her mutant family start to wonder whether she's still the Jean they know or a dangerous new enemy. Now, years from now when people look back at this era of superhero movies, everyone will no doubt acknowledge that the trend really began with Bryan Singer's X-Men way back in 2000. Sure, we'd had 4 Batman movies by 2000, but of course those were DC, and X-Men was the movie that really got people excited about Marvel properties as films, directly paving the way for Spider-Man and the eventual MCU. As for the X-Men series itself, it's been frustratingly inconsistent, with entries that were good to great, including X2, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, Logan and Deadpool, mediocre, basically the controversial X-Men Apocalypse and the Wolverine, and straight up bad, including X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, despite some hefty delays, X-Men Dark Phoenix, which is actually the full on-screen title despite them just calling it Dark Phoenix in all the ads, it's really not as bad as X-Men movies go, being admirably character-based, even if it suffers a bit by coming out in the post-Avengers Infinity War Endgame world. The bar has been set so high at this point, it's hard for anyone to compare. What really helps the film is the guiding hand of director Simon Kinberg. Now, having been associated with this franchise since The Last Stand, he knows just how poorly the Dark Phoenix story has been done in the past. In fact, he was involved, and seems hell-bent on giving it its due here. The issue is this: in a perfect world, we would have had another X-Men movie or two to really get attached to the Jean Grey character as played by Turner. She was only really reintroduced in Apocalypse, so as an audience, we really haven't spent that much time with her, making the tragic aspect of the story feel undercooked. Luckily, Sophie Turner, after 8 years on Game of Thrones, is a pro and manages to evoke a lot of sympathy as the tragic, confused Jean. You really do get a sense that she's terrified by her powers and has nowhere to turn, and she's ably supported by the rest of the X-Men cast, including Ty Sheridan, who gets the meatiest role as Cyclops that the character has really ever had. He's, of course, Jean's loyal boyfriend, while Alexandra Shipp as Storm and Cody Smith-McPhee as Nightcrawler strike a good balance between loyalty to Jean and fear at what she's become. Likewise, the veteran cast members are solid, including James McAvoy as Professor X, who's given an arrogant, almost sinister side early on that gives him some depth, and also plays into the more tortured, filled with regret version of the character played by Patrick Stewart, specifically in Logan. Michael Fassbender returns as Magneto, the character Jean runs to after a bad run-in with her team, an interesting way to bring him into play. Of them all, it's him and Nicholas Holt's Beast that have the most complicated feelings toward Jean, based on an incident early on that's been given away in all the trailers, but that I'm not going to give away here. It's all tied together by one of the best superhero scores we've gotten in a while, with Hans Zimmer digging into the series for the first time despite initially saying he was done with scoring superhero movies. His score is really vintage Zimmer, making one wish he would dive into the MCU proper and add his sound to some other films, as he could really do a lot with those characters. The look of the film is also significantly different than other X-Men films, with Newton Thomas Sigel replaced by Mauro Fori, who gives it a warmer, less clinical look than other installments. However, there are some problems with Dark Phoenix that keep it from being totally successful. For one, Jennifer Lawrence once again seems to be going through the motions as Mystique, even if it's a smaller role than in previous films. Nicholas Holt's arc as Beast also fails to convince at times, with him almost maniacal in his pursuit of Jean at one point, and then flip-flopping from friend to foe, and from foe to friend. What's worse is how thin a part Jessica Chastain has as the alien shapeshifter villain, as generic a baddie as these movies have ever had. That's a real waste of a great actress, although she does have a couple of good moments opposite Turner. The finale also feels a tad rushed, and in many ways Dark Phoenix at 113 minutes feels like 75% of an X-Men movie. I was surprised once the final set piece really started to kick in, as the movie didn't really feel over, especially with plot threads being left open in the hopes of another installment, which seems really unlikely now with Disney taking over. Even still, leaving me wanting for more isn't really a bad way to end the franchise, considering how bad it has been at other times. It's not as good as maybe X-Men First Class or, Logan or Deadpool, but it's not bad, and I give it a solid 7 on 10. Until next time, I'm Chris Bumry for JoBlo.com.
Ladies and gentlemen of NASA, this is Charles Xavier. Help is on the way.
We're doing space missions now. Cool.
We get the astronauts, we bring them home. Go. Hate signature's rising fast.
We gotta get out of here.
Where's Jean?
Where is she?
She should be dead.
Did you hear what the kids are calling you? Phoenix.
Hello, Jean.
Who are you?
The better question is, who are you?
Something's happening to me.
When I lose control, bad things happen. But it feels good.
That power destroyed everything it ever came into contact with. Until you. The X-Men fear you. And what they fear,
We seek to destroy.
She'll kill us all. The girl dies.
She's still our friend.
She's not Jean anymore.